Hi, Mike.
Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming in today. I know
Sure. Looking
it's
forward.
nice to have a familiar face here in the office. It's
Yeah.
been a while. I know I met with you a couple years back, and we did like a little video on Veterans Day when you were the veterans agent here in Stoughton.
Yep, we did it in front of Town Hall. Yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
since then, you've retired from there,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And I just know that you've helped my family, and I'm sure so many. I can speak of so many other families that you've helped in this community, which is amazing. And we miss having you as veterans agent.
Thank you.
But I'm here to talk to you about a little bit more about what you've been doing since your retirement. I know that you have some involvement in the VFW here in Stoughton.
Sure. Yeah.
What else have you been doing? Tell me a little bit more.
Well, regarding retiring, I lasted about maybe a month and a half, not doing anything, and it was the middle of the
Good
winter
for
too.
you.
Yeah, I know, but you had to do something. So
Yeah.
I've been substitute teaching at Blue Hills Regional,
Oh, okay.
and you're more or less like a babysitter. You're not really teaching anything. Remember when you were in school and a substitute teacher, they played a movie,
Yeah.
things like that. Really hasn't changed that much. And then I help a buddy of mine. He does some low voltage wiring, alarm systems, camera work, stuff like that.
Oh, great.
So I help him out doing that type of stuff. I like to say I'm one step above the guy who gets the coffee, but I have some value doing it. So that keeps me busy
great.
a few days a week.
Oh, that's so
And then now that the good weather's here, on the golf course or doing stuff outside, it's it's good. It's working out. It's working out.
Good for you. So how
Yeah.
did you get involved with the VFW? Have you always kind of been involved with it because of just working?
Having been the veterans officer, obviously I was involved with the inner workings of the VFW. Now, right now the VFW, well, I should say the American Legion has merged with the VFW.
Was that very recent? Or is
Yeah,
it?
within I guess within a year or so.
Okay.
Yeah, very recent. We don't
All
even
right,
have
good
any
to know.
signage up yet.
Yeah.
As many people might know, the American Legion post was sold.
Mm-hmm.
It was then taken over by the town of Stoughton by eminent domain for the purpose of building a new fire station, which is in progress right now.
Okay.
And so I approached the VFW as I'm the commander of the American Legion.
Mm-hmm.
I became the commander of the American Legion, well after it was sold.
Yeah.
We got involved with that whole process, what had happened with that. But I approached the VFW about becoming a joint post. And, it's amazing. We were welcomed with such open arms by those guys. They were really quality guys. They had us come in and we have all the rights and privileges that the members do, voting rights. It's like just a complete equal par joint post.
So what is the difference between a Legion, like an American Legion, and a VFW? I think that the VFW, you have to be somebody in combat or some veterans in combat, and then what is the difference?
Yeah. For the VFW, you don't necessarily have to have been in combat, but you have to have been in a campaign or having served, say, in or overseas. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
So if somebody was in a war zone in Korea, for example, Korea is still considered there's no peace agreement. I don't think. I think it was just sort of a. I don't know what it was, but they're still in conflict in Korea. So if you serve in Korea, you have eligibility. Certainly if you're in Iraq, Afghanistan, you're eligible for the VFW. For the American Legion, you had to serve during a period of wartime.
Okay.
And the country's been at war pretty much like forever. There's one period, you have World War II, and then you had the Korean War. There was a little area of peacetime between when did the Korean War end? 1953. So say 1955 through 1960 was peacetime.
Yeah.
And then we had a big peacetime period after the Vietnam War from 1975 through 1990 when the first Gulf War started. And ever since 1990, it's considered a wartime period because of the war on terrorism and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But the American Legion changed their policy. Now it's more like the AMVETS. With the AMVETS, to be a member there, all you have to be as a veteran. And the American Legion, their policy is pretty much the same now. And what happens is, all the fraternal organizations, not just the military posts, but all the fraternal organizations. People don't join as much as they have in the past. So you have Knights of Columbus, the 3 Portuguese clubs in town, the Sons of Italy.
Yeah.
You know, membership's down on all of those. But particularly with the veterans post, the veterans population has declined so rapidly. You know, the draft ended, I think, officially like in 1973,
Yeah.
and you don't have a lot of kids serving now. I think less than 1% of kids serve in the
Wow.
military. And so with the
didn't know
passing of the
that.
World War II vets, let's face it, they're almost all gone. There's only a couple
Yeah.
100,000 World War II vets. And even the Korean vets, you know, they're in their 80s and 90s. In my generation, the Vietnam era vets,
Yeah.
you know, we're in our 70s, you know, pretty much. And so the veterans population is dropping like this. So all the military posts are sort of suffering, you know,
I
from
was
membership.
wondering that. Have a lot
And-
closed down.
Right,
Like,
right. So
yeah.
the American Legion changed their eligibility requirements so that
That's
more
good.
people could join. You know, they're trying to capture that big peacetime period from 1975 to 1990 that they're eligible.
Yeah.
But our membership is doing pretty well over there. Plus, we started over there a program of associate members. So if you weren't in the military at all, for $20, you become a member of our post.
Oh, wow.
And you have all the rights and privileges except for voting privileges. And we have, what do we have now?
So
I
it's
think-
open basically to the community to come in and join if they wanted to come in.
Correct.
Okay.
For $20, you can become an associate member, and we have 118 members, the last count,
that's
associate
great.
members. And they come in, they have access to the members' lounge. You know, you get a break on the hall rentals. The same thing that the members get, the veterans get.
Ah.
So it's a good thing. So that's in helped on membership. In fact, we just had an appreciation dinner for the. I think I had an ad in the shopper a week ago.
Yes,
so
I saw
yeah,
that.
we had an appreciation dinner for all the associate members.
Oh, that's
and
so great.
you know, it was a good event. It was
Oh,
a good
that's
event.
So do families come to these events that you're holding? I noticed a lot more happening in the shopper. There's a couple events coming up this weekend
Mm-hmm.
and in the future. So that's
Yeah, we're trying to get you know, more people involved with the post. You know,
Yeah.
when we first came, the first big event we have, and it was suggested by the senior. I'm the commander of the American Legion, but my senior vice commander, Tom McGauley, he suggested let's have a Toys for Tots event. So we started the planning for that, like in September, for the event to take place in November. It was before Thanksgiving, and we had like, you know, when is the best time? Should it be after Thanksgiving? So we came up with a date. It was like the middle of November or something like that, and it was a wildly successful event. I mean, we had, you know, we would solicit raffles. We had about 80 raffles.
Wow.
Minimum raffle was like $75. We had tons of toys.
Yeah.
It was a great event, and that was one of the first events that started with the American Legion and the VFW. It was a joint thing to try to get some money into the post to really keep it going.
Yeah.
And so since then we've had several events. Yeah, you mentioned this Saturday.
live music.
What's today's date? What's
today is Thursday.
Thursday? So Saturday.
Saturday the 17th from 7 to 10:30 p.m.
Right, that's going to be
Easy
easy
access,
access, yeah, with you know, Janie Dulong and her band Dawn, and Dawn has sort of a grunge band. They're going to participate as
Oh,
well.
cool. So
and
cash bar, party trays of cheese, meats, and crackers. You can order your own food and bring it in?
you can bring your own food in, yeah.
Oh.
Sometimes we cook, but we don't have a grease trap in the post, so it's not like
Ah.
we can be cooking hot dogs and hamburgers and sell them for $1 or something.
Yeah.
And a lot of these bands, they go to places where it's a restaurant or where there's food.
Yeah.
Like they play, for example, a lot of times at the Randolph AmVets post,
Yeah.
but they have a pizza joint there, Huey's Pizza, so people
I was just
can
going to
come
say,
in.
they have an awesome pizza joint
Yeah,
over
they
there,
do,
I
they
heard.
do. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I heard
nice-
it's comparable
nice-
to a certain
Well,
pizza
like Town
place in
Spa,
town.
the
Yeah.
Union Villa, you know,
Yeah.
they're all good. All these little bar pizzas,
Oh.
always slightly different or something like that.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. So we're going to have some food platters out there in trays, and we have in the ad, you know, you can bring your own food. Like
Okay.
the last band we had there, people were ordering Chinese in and having pizzas come in.
Yeah.
And it's in our downstairs lounge this time because the upstairs lounge is rented that day too. But that's another thing, you know, with the end of COVID, now we can start renting the hall, and so that's helping out a lot. That's
Now,
helping out a
where
lot.
is the VFW located? It's right over by
837
Tedeschi's-
Washington Street, right next
Yeah.
to the Shell station.
the Shell station,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
over
yeah,
by
it's on 138.
Is it still Tedeschi's? Over in that, like,
Right
little
next to
plaza?
it, yeah, whatever that
Yeah.
little strip mall is.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the Portuguese club there,
Yeah.
and then there's the VFW.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we're right next to the Shell station.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
And then you have like dinners coming up. On June 30th, you have a roast beef dinner coming up.
Yeah, we have a roast beef dinner with a great band coming in, and that's you know, that's going to be good. We have a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff coming up. You know, I want to schedule another band sometime for the middle of July, that type of thing. We have before I get into the fireworks, what we're going to be doing on then.
Oh, cool.
We're going to have a roast that's in the initial planning of Mike Vanna,
Oh,
who's a
yeah.
well-known
Love Mike.
celebrity, and so that's going to be
Yep.
probably in early September.
Yeah.
I just have to nail down the date and what we're going to do. The Chamber of Commerce used to do these all the time,
Uh-huh.
and they were always, very successful and everything. But Mike's going to be a great person. He does so much for the town. If someone goes to the
He really does. Mike, I promise if you're listening, I will call you soon. I miss you.
Oh God, yeah.
He's gonna be mad. I haven't
He
talked to him forever.
painted the flagpoles at the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery.
Yeah.
They were all sort of rusted. I don't know when the last time. So he
Yeah.
engaged with somebody for a lift truck, and he painted the flagpoles. New flags went up. It was really, really a good thing. And while I have it here, you might remember. Oh God, I don't know. It was a long time ago. 5-7 years ago. Some guy broke the statue in front of the American Legion lot at the Holy
I think I
Sepulchre
remember this.
Cemetery.
Yeah.
There was a beautiful marble statue, and some guy with a hammer, he broke off lots of pieces of the statue. So the thing was covered up for a couple of years. Then they took it down. Well, just within the last few weeks, it was replaced,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you
my
can.
gosh.
Can the
Yes,
camera see
it's
this?
beautiful.
It's absolutely
post
gorgeous.
picture of it.
The
Wow.
new,
That's incredible.
thing. So we're in the initial stages of having a dedication ceremony here.
Oh, wow.
Because if you look at it, you have the fallen soldier being held by the angels.
That's
it's really it's a
beautiful.
beautiful statue,
Oh,
and
I'm
I
so
think it's
glad
made of
that
granite this time,
Wow.
so it'll be a little more solid than marble.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow.
So
That's beautiful.
so that's something we have that. So. The fireworks this year, they run July 2nd, and last year was the first time they had them in several years because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so we typically, the various military posts, the AMVETS, the American Legion, and the VFW, we would rotate and do the cookout there, and have food there. And it used to be at the whole high school. And so, it was gone for 2 years. So we did it last year at the high school field. We're actually on the municipal side of the property.
Okay.
But, there's thousands and thousands of people that were at the fireworks, and the fireworks were fantastic
Yeah.
last year.
Stoughton always has a really good show. I
Oh,
feel like.
yeah. So, but we didn't have a band last year. So we got there, we were all set up about 4 o'clock, and there's nobody coming because the fireworks aren't starting until 8:30 or so, and then maybe 7 o'clock. And so we ended up barely making our money back. Anyway, this year on July 2nd, we're going to have a band. It's the same great, it's like Irish music band, but they do patriotic stuff too.
Yeah.
They're going to be there early. I don't know if they're going to be there at 4 or 3. I'm sorry, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a band there, playing for like 4 hours. And so we're going to set up early.
Yeah.
And we'll be selling hamburgers, hot dogs, sausages, cheeseburgers, packaged things like that. In
Yeah.
fact, I just got back from the Board of Health regarding the temporary food permit we need.
Oh.
And so
And now
yeah.
all proceeds are
we are
going
going to, they will be split between the 3 military posts.
Okay.
That's where the money goes.
AMVETS, Legion,
And
VFW.
VFW. Yeah.
All right.
And, all that money goes to either run the post or to help, veterans. The VFW used to have a fund. All the posts used to have it when there were more members. Scholarships for the high school, Patriot Pen contest from the VFW. We actually did that last year. Jim Kelly, the 2 commanders, him and I went down there and we presented certificates to the winners of the Patriot Pen contest. That's a writing contest, sponsored by the VFW. But because of the lack of funds, we've had to cut back on stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're hoping to generate money so we can get back into more community involvement.
Yeah.
But
it
right
sounds
now,
like you've
there's a
made
lot to it. There's a lot of overhead in running the post,
Right.
especially with inflation, with the cost of utilities and that cost of food,
Yeah.
cost of liquor,
Right.
and of course,
There's a
there's
lot.
fees for everything.
Right. Well, it
so-
sounds like you're making a pretty big splash, like getting this up and running again with different events and getting the community more involved. And I think it's great. And I noticed too, you have maybe a couple months ago you were doing paint nights and stuff for kids to come in and do paint nights and stuff like that.
We have the president of our associate members. Her name is Lisa Lippert. She's also involved with the Canton Legion Riders over at the Canton, and she has added so much to the post.
Yeah.
And so we have things like this. We're going to be making wreaths. I think it's on June 14th.
Oh, fun.
For $40, you can go in and make a wreath for your front door. We had a paint thing, and so other ancillary events like that is along with the ones I just mentioned. mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the reflagging of the graves, is that through the VFW as well, that you do that on Memorial Day and on?
I used to run that through the Veterans Office. I'd
That-
say that came from there, but you get participation from the veterans at the post. So it's
Yeah.
not the VFW running it. We do, I can see why people would think that, because usually after we have a collation at the VFW,
Yeah.
and everybody's invited back to the VFW for hot dogs, beans, salad, coffee, and,
Yeah.
whatever. But no, that's a great event. We have 9 cemeteries in Stoughton, and the Graves Officer, Mike Bodetti, does a great job, and so he reflags 7 of the cemeteries, the smaller cemeteries. Now, 2 of them aren't that small. There's Maplewood and Dry Pond. So he reflags those along with the other smaller ones. But
Yeah.
on the Saturday before Veterans Day and Memorial Day, we reflag all the veterans' graves at both the Holy Sepulchre and Evergreen cemeteries.
Yeah.
In fact, it's filmed every year by Stoughton Media Access,
Yeah.
and they're just putting that on. I've just seen it being played this week, and it's
great.
it's very moving. There's one kid who puts a scout. He's putting a flag on his father's grave. So you get things like that. So moving day.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to
Yeah.
watch the local cable.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people aren't involved with the government, but if you know the players and you see the personalities, it's actually
Yeah.
great entertainment.
No, it definitely is. And that's kind of the whole point of what we're trying to do here at the Shopper too, is kind of just, the Shopper has like, as you know, like its mission has been to connect local businesses to the community. And the whole point of doing this here at the Shopper now is just to kind of bring, that community part back in and bring in local businesses and talk to them about what's happening out there and just kind of connect everybody again. Because I feel like I know technology is great, hello technology, but I don't know, we kind of lost that community thing over the years. So I think it's great just, reminding people what's happening in the community, our businesses that are working in the community. I feel like it's so important.
It is, and I know what you mean with that personal touch. It's just like, where I live, there's a a neighborhood next to mine, and I'll go for, I try to walk a few miles a day to offset all the beer I drink. But and it's like Kotlik, Chisholm, McNamara, and it's like a really nice, beautiful, Spaulding, Alpine, Subposca. It's a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'll walk through there with my daughter, and we'll walk various times of the day. She's home during the day. We can walk. I'm retired now, so I can do it anytime.
Yeah.
And you talk about it's just different. When I was a kid, now I'm the baby boom generation. There were millions of us walking around, so maybe there's not as many kids. But you can go walk through that neighborhood on a Saturday, and it's like no kids around.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in camp. You don't see kids riding bikes as much as they
Yeah.
used to be, and that is like the perfect neighborhood.
Well, that's
Such a
'cause we're
beautiful, beautiful
Well, we're
neighborhood.
afraid to let our kids out on bikes because everybody's on their phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
that too.
technology.
Yeah. But I mean, it's
know.
safety concerns now. I don't remember that when I was in elementary school.
No.
I'd walk to school.
Yeah.
And go guys like this. We're walking in the rain. It's uphill both ways, and it was
Yeah.
everything. It was 6 years old. We got
Yeah.
soaking wet. As opposed to these millennial kids. But all right, I hope they know I'm kidding.
No.
Yeah.
I think everybody understands
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I'm excited that you're still like very involved with the town and these events that are coming up in the VFW. And if anybody wants to, find out some more information about membership or the events, where can they find? I know you have a Facebook page or check our
The
Shopper.
VFW has a Facebook page. I have to just start a Facebook page for the American Legion. I'm not on Facebook. My wife does, and I always give her stuff to put on. But we
Yeah.
could just start a little American Legion page. That's no big deal.
Yeah.
But stuff is always on Facebook. We're
Okay.
always posting stuff there. Someone could always call the VFW /American Legion post. They could call me directly. I don't mind giving out my number. It's 617-212-5006.
Awesome.
If they have any questions on any of the veteran stuff going on in
Yeah.
town. And we can really let people know what's going on. There's so few veterans now, and it's good to have
Keep that alive.
forums like this to let people know what's going on. That's why
Yeah.
it's important when you have stuff like the reflagging of the graves, and you see these young kids out there doing it, and
Yes.
it really has emotion for them.
absolutely
And we're
does.
still plugging along with our Memorial Day and Veterans Day parade.
Yeah.
You don't have the crowds we used to have,
Yeah.
but we're still keeping that tradition going.
I'm so glad
You
we're
know?
still doing that. My kids loved reflagging the graves. I think we did it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing you there a few
Yeah.
years ago. Yeah, up at Evergreen.
Hope to do that again soon.
So what else do I have? I did the statue, events, fireworks, the band. I could say could say this. There's we have when the I mean, the whole thing with the American Legion Post, how that was sold and what happened, I'll just say that that post was sold without the knowledge of the membership. And there's been significant civil and criminal, there have been civil and criminal cases ongoing regarding the sale of that property. Now, the town has taken it by eminent domain, and so the town's not involved in any of that. But, you know, when a town or a municipality takes a property by eminent domain, they have to put the money in what's called a pro tanto account, basically an interest-bearing escrow account.
Okay.
So there is probably about 1.2 million sitting in an account now. We have professional liability insurance companies, title insurance companies, attorneys. These are all for the defendants, all involved with this, along with our attorneys. And the case is going into mediation in September. And so we're hoping to get this whole thing resolved by the end of the year. And the criminal investigation, you know, again, the ex-commander, he's been indicted, arraigned for fraud, larceny, embezzlement, theft of the building, theft of funds. But, you know, I always say, you know, I say this to the DA, you know, justice delayed is justice denied, you know, just giving him a shot, because it just takes so long.
Yeah.
You'll read about a criminal complaint about, say, some celebrity, and then it's like 5 years later, you know, it's resolved, you know, and it really just takes a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it just takes a long time.
Well,
But we have those things going on. But that could be, if we reach some sort of, you know, effective settlement, that'll be a great help to the veterans in the community, which was why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah,
you know?
and I'm so glad
yeah.
you've gotten yourself involved in this and making some changes. And I don't know, I'm confident that it's going to.
Yeah.
turn
So
around.
we're involved in a lot of, you know, really complex issues. You know, not
Yeah.
just with that, but just with other things. Just the logistics of things.
Yeah.
Just this temporary food permit thing I have to have. It's like they want you, right? What am I, Picasso? They want you to draw stuff out and everything. It's like.
Yeah.
All right, I don't want to get in their bad side. We're going to do exactly what they want.
Oh, well, thank
So-
you, Mike, for coming in. And
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been great.
yes, and it was great to see you. And if you're interested in joining the Legion or with the events, again, follow their Facebook page or contact Mike if you want to say your number one more time.
Sure, 617-212-5006. And yeah, associate members, if you're not a veteran, I've signed up a bunch of my friends, you know, who aren't veterans, some of my golf buddies.
Yeah.
And you know what? They may never even show up there because they live
Yeah.
in different communities, but just to help support the veterans organizations.
I think
for
I
20
might
bucks and that
join
type of
now
thing.
just because my dad was a veteran and now it like all this stuff sounds
That
like
happens
awesome.
a lot. You get, because the younger generation, you know, there's so few veterans, and so they're not veterans. But,
Yeah.
you know, my age, when I was a kid, every adult was a veteran, just about, because it was all the World War II, and because
Right.
I'm a baby boomer, so just about everyone served in World War
Yeah.
II. You know,
Yeah.
but now it's not the case. So someone like you, in fact, I was with the Blue Hills kids, and you know, it's sort of a shame. You know, you can't do anything about it, but they still start out the day with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the kids don't stand. You know, when I'm in the shops, like automotive, metal fab, those kids, they stand. You know,
Yeah.
but if you're in the academic classes, you know, they don't really stand. You'll get like 2 or 3 kids. In fact, there was one time only one kid stood in the class, and I went up to him later and I said, it took a lot of courage for you to stand, you know, for the Pledge of Allegiance
Yeah.
when no one else is, you know, is standing.
Yeah.
So I was talking to them.
Yeah.
And I
back
was,
then,
you know, because,
you stand, hats off.
oh God, it was an honor.
Like,
You'd be up,
yeah.
you'd hold the flag out and everything. And your
Yeah.
hands are, you know, it's totally different now. But I was talking to them about, you know, how as I was a kid, everyone was a veteran. And I said, well, maybe your grandfathers were all veterans. And then it hit me. These kids are like, you know, 15 to 18 years
Yeah,
old.
totally
Their
different
grandfathers weren't even veterans. You know, it
Yeah.
had to be their great-grandfathers. That's how much, you know, you have a
Yeah.
kid who's 18 years old. His grandparents are in their 60s maybe. Well, 60s, you're like a Vietnam guy.
Yeah.
You're not even, you're too young to even be in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like your great-grandparents, you know, that's when all the veterans were. And so the kids really can't, you know, you can't relate. You read stories every once in a while.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not like when I was a kid where everyone was a veteran and you had that,
Yeah.
you just knew it.
They can't
Yeah, yeah.
relate, but I think it is a good reminder to them, you know, what, you know, their family has done. And
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I think this is a great way of keeping that alive,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
since there's so has there been so many closings like of VFWs in this area?
Oh God, over the years,
Yeah.
yeah. We were lucky here in Stoughton we were one of the few communities that had 3 military posts:
Yeah.
the Legion, the VFW, and the AMVETS.
Yeah.
Well, not we still have them,
Is
but
there
we
a-
only have one building.
Sorry,
so.
I'm getting sidetracked. Is there a veterans agent right now in Stoughton or no longer? Because I know that that's something too. Some towns are losing veterans agents.
To my knowledge, as of today, there is no veterans officer
Yeah.
in the town of Stoughton. Yeah,
That's unfortunate.
yeah. That's the town. Yeah, yeah. So, but that's the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that
So-
Canton just got a new agent. I know
He's
that.
he's been there for a while, I think.
Has he?
right? Yeah.
Well-
unless it's somebody brand new.
No, not brand
You know,
new.
I'm talking
but
about
I feel
Arafat.
like,
Yeah, I think
what
he's
is
been
the
there.
last name?
Arafat?
Yes.
That might be his first name. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
he's been there for a while.
So
several years.
he's available to serve this area then.
Oh, sure. I do know some clients, and they're being referred to the veterans officers in surrounding communities. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm actually helping. Christ, I've helped. I've had a lot of clients I've helped over the last couple of years because I still have my contacts with the VA.
Yeah.
And I'll call them, and they know me, and they'll help me out with some information
Do you
to
miss
advise
that?
people. I do to an extent. Yeah. But it's a lot of work. It's almost like if you're doing the job right.
Yeah.
When you're doing appeals and doing claims, it's almost like writing legal briefs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into the Code of Regulations, CFR 38, the Federal Code of Regulations, for how, and you're writing this stuff like, here's why I disagree with your
Yeah.
decision.
is
We
a
had
lot.
one case. I don't know what our time limit is, but it was a woman and her husband had died from mesothelioma. Now, she had gotten a settlement. If you turn on the TV, you don't see the ads for that as much anymore. Now you see all the camp pollution and water contamination
Yeah.
ads, but you still see the mesothelioma ads from the lawyers. So she got a settlement from that for private, but her husband died from mesothelioma. So the VA has a program, dependency and indemnity compensation, where if you're a spouse and your husband died as a result, or wife, in this case, we had no wives die as result of our military service. That's why I said that. But you're entitled to a full real estate tax exemption. You get money from the state. You get compensation. And so he died from mesothelioma. So we filed a claim because he was an accountant his whole life after he got out of the military. But he was on a ship which was listed as an asbestos ship, and she was denied the claim. His occupation on the ship was as a radar man, and the VA decision came back and says, as a radar man, your job wouldn't have exposed you to asbestos on the ship. So the ship happened to be the Joseph Kennedy, which is at Battleship Cove. So I went down there, and the administrator down there, she said, oh, yeah, you can go in and take pictures. She gave me, the ship was lousy with asbestos. Wherever you went, and it wasn't
Wow.
asbestos now, but, it was where they ate in the mess halls and the latrines and their bunks. They showed me the bunks, the
Yeah.
pipes are right over, and it was all the asbestos. And what happened was you have raiders, VA raiders, and they get trained, and maybe they were in the military, but unless you're there, you really don't know things. That's true in life, right?
Yeah.
If you don't experience it. And so they see radar man, well, he's up in this, actually where the radar man was, there was asbestos up there, but they would think there was no asbestos. And they didn't really think, well, it's the entire ship you're on.
Yeah, it's
And
everywhere, I would think.
so we appealed it. I took a ton of pictures, wrote almost like a legal brief. You set it in, and we ended up prevailing on that case. But the case went on for like 5 years. But she got a good retroactive payment,
Wow,
and all that.
good.
So that was good.
But you
but
really
so
had
it's
to
really
fight
complex.
for that. Like you were.
Yeah, and I'm
going
not
down.
trying to be
That's-
self-aggrandizing here, but to really do the job right, and there's a lot of good veterans
Yeah.
officers out there where you really have to. It can be very involved. It's not just. We pay out a lot of aid. The town of Stoughton, it's come down a lot with a lot of deaths. We used to have our budget. I think it was in 2015. We were the 6th largest budget in the town of Stoughton. People don't realize that. I mean, there was fire, police,
Yeah.
public works, the schools, and the library. We almost got to be as big as the library. We were twice as big as the Council on Aging and the Youth Commission combined with all the aid we were paying out. But it's gone way down with the declining veterans population.
Yeah.
I left out the visiting nurses, but they run their own business down there. They're in enterprise accounts, so it's not really apples for apples.
Yeah.
But that is sort of black and white. You have people means tested, and if they're eligible for aid, they get the aid.
Yeah.
But the federal stuff, that's a whole different animal,
Ballgame, yeah.
because the VA tries to do really well, But you know, on the other hand, they want to make sure someone has the disease or issue that they say they have. So
Right.
you have to prove it.
Yeah.
You know, some things are presumptive, like Agent Orange. You know, if
Yeah.
you have certain diseases, it's presumptive. Camp Lejeune, water contamination, you have certain stuff that's presumptive that
Yeah.
you had it.
And I
But
imagine
there's
it's
a lot
always
of
changing too. Like,
yeah, they're always adding things to it and stuff. In fact, I'm helping
Yeah.
a client right now with a presumptive thing. He has something, and it's not. You know, I've had cases. You know, it's funny with Agent Orange. There's, you know, you swallow, right? There's your esophagus and your trachea.
Yeah.
You know, the esophagus goes in the stomach, trachea goes in the lungs. Tracheal cancer is presumptive. Esophageal cancer isn't. And I've had several guys with esophageal cancer, and it's like, what the hell? You know, it starts the same way, but, you know, with the billions they put into medical research.
Yeah.
And, you know, I could get a doctor, because I would deal with doctors all the time, too. And I'd say, in fact, I'd write up, can you write this? Can you sign this? And I'll write it up for them. But then the VA comes back, they want to see their research. Why are you saying esophageal cancer is presumptive to Agent Orange? Let's see your research. And they really didn't have any research. You know, they signed what I, you know, they said in their opinion, well,
Right.
what's the basis for your opinion? And because the VA can look at, you know, volumes of stuff that they did.
Yeah.
You know, so it's tough to prevail on cases sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I imagine.
Yeah.
Well.
So, but anyway, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all your work and everything
Okay.
that you do. Honestly, I'm so happy that you're still doing what you
Yeah, it's all
love
good.
and
It's all good.
helping and
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
involved. And
Yeah, and the golf course is good now and all that stuff. So
Good.
that's good.
good for you.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Well, I hope you come back and talk to us again sometime. So thank
sure.
you
Maybe
so
in a
much.
year from now, we'll catch up on everything that's been done.
Yeah,
and everything.
let's do that.
Okay,
We'll
good.
see where we are
Okay.
a year from now.
Good deal.
And thank you again.
Okay. Thanks, Lauren.
All right.
Bye.